All right.
All right. Okay. Welcome everybody to week 3 of Devtoberfest Fun Friday event. With me is Eric Johnson. You want to say hello, Eric?
Hello, Eric. How are you?
Nice.
Sorry, pulled that out.
No problem. I've definitely gotten myself prepared for this. It's going to be a very loose, a very fun conversation. And what we want to do is end the week with Eric speaking to us about the iteration. What do you call it? How do you name your speech?
Attitude of iteration.
All right. So Eric is going to introduce himself and talk about what he does in his day job, but this is not going to be a developer. We're not going to be releasing code for this speech. This is something fun to leave you guys with a great feeling at the end of the week, and hopefully it's something inspirational. What I'm going to do at the end of this is I'm probably going to listen to some music. I've got an album hanging in the background if anybody wants to try and figure out what it is when I move my head. But I like listening to vinyl, and I told Eric I actually go for runs every Sunday and other times during the week. So try and decompress a little bit from thinking about code. So the idea of this is that we're going to have questions for you guys to be answered in the chat. I'll be monitoring YouTube, and we'll stage those till the end. And Eric and I can just interact during the talk. If he has questions or things that pop up that he wants to ask me, he might ask me something, but I'll go off camera and let Eric talk for about 50 minutes. And then we'll come back at the end and wrap up with questions. How I met Eric is that both of us are in the technology space and doing different events at different conferences. And we met each other and we look very similar, except for a couple of different features that he'll probably point out besides the color of my beard. And it was in Chicago and it was raining and the Navy Pier was about to get washed away. And we just got along famously. So yeah. I then one night may or may not have been drinking something besides coffee and was wandering the streets of New York City.
I wasn't going to bring that up. Are you Eric?
You're Eric. What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
How did you know?
It's like 42nd Street in the middle of New York City at 10:30 at night, and we happened to see each other, which was awesome. Right. So it's been, I think we've been going on now probably 4 or 5 years that we've been working together and knowing each other. So I'm going to stop talking, turn off my camera. If you want to introduce yourself and then just hit go on your speech at your own pace, and we're here for at least an hour.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Josh. First of all, just want to say thank you again. Super excited to be here. Love doing this talk. And so thank you very much. All right. So I'm going to jump in here. First of all, just so you know who I am, I'm not new to development. I have been developing for a while. I'm actually a developer advocate. So I'm a principal developer advocate at AWS for serverless. That's my day job. And glad you follow me on Twitter at EDJ Geek. I'm glad to answer serverless questions, things like that. But that's not what we're going to be talking about today. Today, we're going to be talking about an attitude of iteration. And really, it's kind of more of the focus on what is your attitude? And the iteration says we don't always get it right the first time. Attitude is a thing that we continually work on. And so this has also been called overcoming challenges, if you want to look at it that way. But before I get too far into this, I am going to give you some rules. Okay. Now, this is not this is live, but it's, I'm not in the room with you. Normally, if I'm standing in a room, I will tell folks, okay, I have rules. So I'm going to tell you the same thing. But they're really more of guidelines. They're going to help you understand me. Okay. And the first one is this. I'm going to hold it up here to the camera. This is any number I want it to be. Okay. So you may have quickly noticed, whoa, he's a little different. He's really good looking. That probably is not what you said. But yes, Josh and I are different in that my hands are more streamlined and efficient than his are. I have different hands. So this is any number I want it to be. Now, I say this because a lot of times when I'm telling stories, which you're going to hear today, I will hold this up and say, yeah, there were 7 of us, or, we need a table for 9. And it never fails. They, put me alone at the bar because they see the finger and not hear the voice. So you got to listen to what I'm saying and not what you're seeing. Unless, of course, it's what you're seeing. It's contextual. You have to figure it out. The second thing is these are quotes, not apostrophes. I know that. I just think this is better than this, because when I do this, the audience often is like, oh, is he doing a bunny rabbit? Is that what he's doing? I don't know. So, or when I do this, a lot of times someone in the back will wave back. And you can see them talking to their friend like, is he waving at us? Okay, wave back. And they always wave back with their pinky. And I want you to know, there's nothing in the world that can offend me unless you call this my pinky. because I feel like it's the biggest, strongest finger, but it does look like it's a pinky right on the end. I've always said this is all the fingers rolled into one. The last rule for when I'm talking is these are thumbs. My actual college ID was this. And you can see people going, you can go, sir. But I do this a lot. I say it when hey, the other day I was working, that kind of thing. So those are thumbs. So those are the rules. Like I said, you may have figured out, and I've sometimes you don't catch it when it's virtual, so I'm making sure you see it, or none of my jokes or stories will make any sense. I am different. I was born this way. I had a lot of people ask me, what were you military? Was it a shop accident? And that's always fun. Yeah, it was a shop accident. I was sawing a board and it cut off 4 of my 5 fingers. So I just went ahead and switched over to the other hand and sawed a board. And you can see it in their faces like, I think I would have stopped. But no, it's not a shop accident. I've helicopters, skiing. I've if it's out there, I've told it all. If you're thinking of an excuse why I have 1 finger, I've probably told somebody that. Now, just so you know, because you can't see it, my feet are the same way. Okay, so I was born with 1 finger on each hand and 1 toe on each foot. And that makes for fun stories. At the beach, people go, what kind of animal makes that print in the sand? It's like, well, that's a really heavy horse or something. But anyway, so those are the rules that'll help you understand. Now, I can't see you, but I want you to virtually raise your hand and ask you, how many of you remember your first date? Okay, now again, I can't see you. But most crowds that I talk to, maybe 20 to 30% raise their hand. So I have to change the question, and I'll do it for you as well if you didn't raise your hand. How many of y'all are waiting for your first date? Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you about my first date, and hopefully your first date went better than this. Okay. So I'm going to take you back to the year is 1986. Yes, I am that old. I graduated high school in 1988. That is the best era for graduating high school, the best music. Josh, I didn't figure out what album was up there, but I'm going to guess because 80s is the best. It's maybe something from Prince or Journey or Depeche Mode or something like that, but we'll come back to that. The year is 1986. I'd been looking to ask this girl out for some time. I had been, I had a massive crush. Of course, I was 16, so I knew I was in love. I know what love is. I was ready. And so I worked up the guts to call her. And I gave her the call, and her mom answered. And so as you do, I hung up really quick because I don't want to talk to her mom. So I called back the next day. Her mom answered again. I hung up. We went back and forth a couple of times. And finally, not kidding you, I called, and her mom said, whoever you are, don't hang up. So I hung up because I didn't want her to know it was me who was hanging up. So I called back finally, and I got a hold of the girl, and I said, I would love to take you out on a date. And this would be my first date ever. And she said, she didn't sound as excited about it as I was, to be honest, but that's neither here nor there. So we go on the date. Now, just to give you a little backstory on me, I am a father of 5 kids. I have 3 boys. How many? Hopefully you said 3. I have 3 boys and I have 2 girls. Now I can do 2. I can actually get to 4, but I have to take my shoes off and it just gets awkward for everybody. But I have 5 kids. And as a dad of 5 kids, I think this is a grand idea. But as a student asking a girl out, I did not like this idea. Her parents wanted to meet me first and wanted me to have dinner with the family. And I was like, oh man, I was so nervous. Now I had just gotten my license, and I drove over there. It was my dad's truck, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. My dad's truck. And so we drive over there. I go in and we sit down to have dinner. Now it's a pretty simple dinner. It's beans and franks. I loved it. I was excited about it. We were having lemonade. And one of the things that happened is I had said, can I have some more lemonade? Now, you need to know, when I'm doing anything, I drop stuff, I make messes. I'm just a clumsy person. And I would love to say, oh, it's because I have 1 finger. But that's not true. I'm just clumsy. That's just the way it is. So back to this meal. I'm sitting at this meal, and I said, may I have some more lemonade? Because I drink all my lemonade. And the mom said, yeah. So here you go. And so they hand me, now I don't know who, I can't see, I don't know by the audience. Often I'll judge the audience and say, are you old enough to remember Tupperware? But I'll just say, do you remember Tupperware? If you don't know what Tupperware is, plastic, that had lids that snapped on and stuff. And so they handed me with what I believe was Tupperware's largest liquid container offering. It gets bigger every time I tell the story, and it's hard because I'm in a camera, but it's like this big, right? So it's the biggest jug they had, and it was full of lemonade. And they said, well, here you go. And I literally looked at them, I was like, you want me to pour it? You think I should pour it? All right, I'll pour it. So I take the lemonade, and I start to pour, and I do the pour like this. And I'm going to tell you what, that lid did not even try. That lid said, oh my gosh, that's a lot of lemonade. And I literally saw it hop off. And lemonade went all over the table. It went in the plates. It went in the laps. It went everywhere. And the whole family just kind of sitting there staring at me. And this is where I got it's not the first time this happened to me, but it's the first time that I remember it really locking in. I got the look. Now, there's actually two looks that happened that night. Okay. The first one was, and if you're a dad, you get it. If you're a dad with daughters, you get it. If you're sons, you whatever. It is, you are not good enough for my daughter. And he was right. I mean, I can't debate that. He's right. I was clumsy. I was 16. I was stupid. Right. So, but the second look, and if you're different in any way, you might have seen this look and you can read it. Now, she didn't say these words, but I could hear it in my head. And she looked at me and she got the big eyes, and it was just kind of the pouty lip. And basically what I heard in my head was, that is the saddest thing I have ever seen in my life. She didn't understand. She looked at me and said, man, that's sad. And he's never going to get by it. And I remember that really clicked. It's like, oh, maybe it is sad. So that night I figured, okay, this night couldn't get any worse. I've just spilled lemonade all over everybody's plate, uneaten food, sod and everything like that. Let's just go on our date. So the parents, and I want to apologize real quick. I do have, I live in Colorado and I've got the head cold, whatever going on. So I've got a little coughing going on, but I have my Diet Dr. Pepper. I'll be fine. So back to the story. So the second thing we're going to do is, her parents were going to night school. They were both trying to get some different degrees, and they were going to Phoenix College. This is in Phoenix, Arizona. And the second part of the date was we were going to go with them, and while they were in class, we would study in the library. Now, to be honest, I'm a son of a school teacher and a music minister. We had no money. So this is like, okay, this makes sense. I had no money, right? So we go to the library, and her dad gets out before her mom. And he says, you know what? I'll tell you what I'll do. While we're waiting on your mom, why don't we go over to Mary Coyle's Ice Cream? Now, I don't know what kind of ice cream shops you have in your place, but Mary Coyle's Ice Cream in 1980s was a little ice cream shop, kind of fancy, really good ice cream. And it was right across the street from the university. Now, it's actually a community college. It's kind of small, but it was on a major street. So we said, oh, that's great. Let's go get some Mary Coyle's ice cream. So she's got her arm in mine, because, it's a first date, right? She's got her arm in mine. I've got the swagger going on, and it didn't look any better then than it does now. And we get to the curb. Now, I told you earlier, and this is important to the story, my feet are just like my hands. And now I'm going to give you a science lesson. Let's put the story aside for a second. Here's a science lesson. When you have 2 toes instead of 5 toes and a long, flat foot, the truth is my foot is very short and very wide. The shoe boxes fit my feet better than the shoes. Okay, that's just the way it works. When you have feet like this, if you run fast and try to stop immediately, you do not stop immediately, you fall over. That's just science. I don't know the scientific fact for that. My dad was a biology teacher. I should, but I don't. But there it is. Okay. So back to the story. She's got her arm in mine. We come up to the street. There's a median in the middle of the road. Now, this is in Phoenix, Arizona. So the traffic's going on the right side, driving the right. So there was no traffic going this way, but there was traffic going this way. So, and I don't know how that's working the camera. There's no traffic in the lane closest to us. So there was traffic in the furthest one on the other side of the median. So we're going to run to the median. She's got her arm in mine. So here, her dad says, go, go. And so we go. So I start running. She's still holding on to me. We run to the median. And here's where I learned another scientific fact. Okay. This one's called the transfer of energy. See, what happened is when I ran, I tried to stop. Well, like I said, I started to go forward. Instead of me going forward, because she was holding on to me, I threw her forward. And she landed face first in front of oncoming traffic. And I remember her dad, whoa, and then some things that I won't repeat here on live stream. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, and she is laid out. Okay. And I couldn't help it in my mind. I'm thinking, look at me, I'm still standing. Oh, okay. Let me help you up. So I helped her up, stood her up, and she is raspberried all over her arms. She's got scratches on her face. It was not a good situation. And the dad did not take us to ice cream. We turned right around. We walked back to the cars. We waited in the car for the mom to get out. She came out. She saw what was happening. She said, she asked what happened, so he told the story. And there's the second time that night I got that look. She turned and looked at me and says, that is so sad. It's the saddest thing. There's a little bit of anger in it. You hurt my daughter as well. Now, we drove home. I sat behind Dad. Okay, if you've ever been a little kid, you don't want to be where they can reach you, right? So I sat behind Dad, and driving home, the dad's grumbling, I'm gonna kill him, I'm gonna kill him, I'm gonna kill him, and the mom's, it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. And the daughter, I'm not gonna say her name because she doesn't need to know I'm telling the story. She's sitting next to me, and she's literally blowing on all the scratches and stuff. It was not a good day. And I'm thinking in my head, if I can just get back to the house, I'll get in the truck, and I'll leave, and this will all be over. I will change states. I will change schools. I'm out of here. Because nothing else could go wrong, right? That's the worst thing that could happen tonight. Well, not for Eric Johnson. That's not how it rolls. So we get back to the house. Now, they lived on a major street. Okay, so their house faced a major street and had a little service road between it. So I was parked on the service road. Let's put the story aside for a second. Let me tell you this part. My dad, in 1986, he'd actually got it a couple of years earlier, but he bought what I consider his midlife crisis truck. Now, again, he was a teacher. We didn't have a lot of money, but he bought a truck and trailer, and this truck was a Ford F-250. It was a 1976 Ford F-250. It had been souped up. It had side pipes. It sounded amazing. It had a 390 in it. Now, I don't know what that means, but I like those numbers, 390, 391, whatever it takes, right? And so when you push the gas in this truck, it could dang near jerk the front tires off the ground. It was so fast. It was really a quick truck, if it could get traction, right? All right, so that's important to start. It was Mountain Dew green. I kid you not. And it was what I drove for prom and homecoming. Man, sorry, ladies, I'm taking Mountain Dew green truck. There you go. So back to the story. We get back to the house. I get in the truck. I say bye. The whole family is out on the front lawn, and they're waving. And I'm pretty sure Dad's out there just to make sure that I leave, right? So I get in the truck. I'm on the service road. All I have to do is turn through the little gap in the service road, do a U-turn, and go down the main street. That's all I got to do, right? Now, it's pitch dark. Lights were out, something like that. I couldn't really see. Family's out front waving. I'm like, okay, like that. And so here's how I drive. Now, having one finger is kind of cool because I could take the one finger and I could kind of just put it in the steering wheel and I do this, right? I look pretty cool. How you doing? How you doing? Right? So that looks pretty cool. So that's what I would do. I would take it and put it in. So I had cranked the wheel all the way to the right because I had to make that U-turn. Now, in a 1976 Ford F-250, the light switch is on the left-hand side down under the dash. So you got to reach down and pull out the light switch. What I realized is as I've got the wheel cranked all the way, there's no traffic coming, and I start into this turn, I realized I have no lights. I can't see anything. Oh my gosh. You see the dad's already judging. He's waving still, but he's like, seriously, yeah, go. You are not good enough for my daughter. So here's what I do. With my left hand, I've got that steering wheel cranked all the way. With my right hand, I reach through the steering wheel over my arm and I pull the knob. And my finger gets stuck up under there, because that's a big old fat finger. And it gets stuck. So my lights have come on, I'm stuck, and in a panic, gas to the ground. Man, I put the pedal to the metal, and that truck comes alive. And it goes around the turn, and it goes over the median, through their yard, peeling out, and back onto the street. And Dad's backing the family up. Whoa, 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 everybody back. Man, when I got control of that, I took off. Wow. And I almost drove almost all the way home like this. Oh my gosh, I'm stuck, And I'm in tears. I'm so embarrassed. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. It was only about a mile and a half drive, and I get home. And here's my dad. Now, my dad, like I said several times, was a teacher, and he was a teacher at the high school that I went to. In fact, he had this particular girl in his class and on his basketball team. He knew her well. And I get home, tears running. And he says, Eric, what's wrong? What's wrong? So I tell him the story I just told you. I'm so embarrassed. And my dad, by the end of it, was crying also, but he was not crying. He was laughing. He was laughing so hard he was crying. He was not a sensitive dad. I'm going to tell you right now. He thought that was funny, and my mom was laughing. I could hear her in the back room laughing. So I went back in my bedroom, and I sat down, and this was the night. Okay, and I remember this vividly when I sat down and I really started to think through, wow, I'm different. I'm challenged. There were some things that happened on my first date that shouldn't happen. That was weird, right? Now, hopefully your first date is better than that. If not, I'd love to hear the story sometime. But I want to take a moment and talk about it. And I've got 4 points I'm going to say today, or that I have today. And these are the things I really want you to hear. And the first one that I have is again, this challenge that I had that night back in 1986, where I sat down and I said, I am different. And what I came to think is, man, I'm the only one who has these kind of challenges. We look around at our friends and go, their life is perfect. She's beautiful. Look at her. Look at him. He's big and buff. He's handsome. Their lives are perfect. They have no problems. Look at me. Look at all the problems I've been blessed with. I'm the only one. And that could kind of go two ways. Like, I'm the only one that has these problems. And it's like, am I the only one that has these problems? Right. And so we kind of think about it. And what I really came to learn since that night is, and this is the first point I would give you, is every single person has issues. They have problems. And it becomes very relative to you. Now, I'm here to tell you, my wife could come down here and get on screen and tell you also, oh, she won't. She's like, I'm not doing that. This is not my worst problem. This is just the way I was made, right? This doesn't define me. Right. But I have a lot worse problems. Yeah, he's an overeater. He drinks too much Diet Dr. Pepper. He's a workaholic. I mean, I have all these things, but there's these issues that we deal with. And every single person has issues. It was interesting this week. I was taught, this has not been a great week for me. I'm going to be real honest. There were some things that happened this week. It's like, man, this is a bad week. And just before I got on the chat with Josh here, I got on the stream with Josh. I had one of our other developers reach out to me that I'm mentoring. He's one of our DAs, and not on our team, somewhere else in AWS. And he said, I'm having a rough week. So, all right, what's going on? Tell me. And in my head, I'm thinking, you have no idea what rough week is. I've had a rough week. And he said, and he kind of hesitated. He said, I have to do a presentation today. It's due in about 30 minutes. And my mom died this week. And I literally was just like, oh my gosh. So we talked through some things and we helped out, but it drives perspective. All of a sudden, you have a perspective of, I'm okay. This isn't as bad when you hear other folks having problems. And that's the challenge, right? I would challenge you to remember, you are not the only one having issues. Sometimes our issues are bigger than we can deal with, and sometimes they're not. And we'll talk about that a little later. But everybody has issues. Some are little spikes in life, like a mom dying or dad dying, right? But some are things that just are part of our life forever, like having one finger on each hand. The second point I would say, these are pretty close together, but the second point I would tell you is how you act or how you handle your difference is the model by which other people will handle your difference, right? You are the model by how others will treat you. One of the things that I hear a lot in life is, Eric, I forget after 5 minutes, I forget you are missing fingers. I forget you have no thumb. Now, one of the things I do with people, I tell one finger jokes all the time. And I'll be really honest, I'm comfortable with that. I tell, I have no problem with that. And I'm going to be, if that's making you uncomfortable, I'm comfortable with that too. I'll be all right. So either way, I'm good. But I tell a lot of one finger jokes. And one of the reasons that I do that is it's the elephant in the room a lot of times. Every time in my role at AWS, I speak in public a lot and I speak to huge crowds. And you see me up on camera and when I'm doing this, it's the elephant in the room. And until I address it, nobody's ready to listen to what I'm going to say because they're only on what I look like, right? So one of the first things I do, and it's a calculated move, one of the first things I do is I start telling one finger jokes. I tell my first date story. I tell the rules or something like that, because what I'm doing to folks is saying, this is okay. While I have this, it doesn't define me, right? This is who I am. I'm a lot more than this. Although I believe this is better. I'm going to tell you that straight up. I believe if, we can go down that road another time, but like I said, I believe it's more efficient. Look at that. No drag, no, whatever. So that second point again, when I come back to that, is you are the model by which people will treat you. All my life. Now, I would love to tell you that every day I get up and I go, I am so glad I'm this way. But that's not necessarily the truth, right? There are days that it is a challenge. And this is really where we talk about this attitude of iteration. This is where that iteration part comes in. Because with that iteration, it's a daily choice to get up and say, here's how I'm going to attack this. And sometimes it's a daily choice to just go to bed. Sometimes we go, you know what, man, this day's done. There's still plenty to do, or there's still plenty of challenges. I'm going to go to bed and get some sleep, start fresh in the morning. In the morning, I'm going to get up and I'm going to rock this. I'm going to challenge this. I'm going to go forward. A lot of times, there's that choice between, sometimes we want to get up and go, you know what? I hate this. This is going to shut me down today. And that's the iteration part again, where we say, I want, today is a rough day, but I'm going to continue on. I'm going to step on to tomorrow. And how do we adjust that attitude? Now, like I said, I can tell you lots of stories, and you'll hear some as we're going forward of things that have happened with me. But earlier I said I have 5 kids. And with them, now, as I model, and I told you, most people forget I have 5 fingers right away. And I model that for my kids. But here's the thing. 4 of my 5 kids, so 4 of 5, are just like me. They have bald hair and beards, is the weirdest thing. No, I'm just kidding. They have 5 or 1 finger on each hand. Only one of my daughters, my 4th daughter, was born with 5 fingers. And really, she's the minority, because my 3 older boys have 1 finger on each hand and 1 toe on each foot. And my youngest daughter has 1 finger on each hand and 1 finger on each foot. And it was interesting. I remember when my first son, I'm going to take you back to 2001, when my first son was going to be born. And my wife and I was previously married, excuse me. And at the time, she was a nurse. And before we even had kids, before we thought about having kids, she said, I want to go to the doctor and I want to get an idea of what we're looking at. What are the genetic markers? What's the genetic chances here? And I remember thinking, because I was raised in a family, I was like, why? It doesn't make a difference. Are we going to not have babies? Why? But okay, if you want to do this, that's fine. Now I'm going to back you up for a second. This didn't start with me. My mom is this way. My brother is this way. One of his 2 kids is this way. And of course, 4 of my 5 kids, we're taking over the world. We have a few more, and they're going to start making gloves that fit us. We don't have to wear tube socks on our hands anymore. But yeah, there's a lot of us. But it started with her. And in my family, I was raised to live life normal and to not worry about it. Just this does not define you. So when she said to me, I want to go get this genetic test, it was like, I don't get it. I don't understand, but okay. So we went in and we saw the geneticist. I talked to him, and he said they did these tests, and they came back, and then we had the follow-up meeting. Here's what he said. He said, and I've practiced this word forever. Hopefully I get it right. What you have, first of all, what you have is called ectrodactyly. It's actually called severe. It's part of the ectrodactyly family. It's called severe monodactyly. Now, that's a very technical word that translates to really bad one finger. You have a really bad one finger, right? And so, okay, thanks, Doc. I already knew that, but thanks. Hope you're getting paid a lot. But the second thing he said is it's autosomal dominant, which means if you have it, you can pass it. You have to have it to pass it. If you don't have it, it doesn't get passed. Okay. Now, the third thing he told us is there is a 50-50 chance with every child. But here's the catch on that. He said it's a 50-50 that they'll have 5 fingers. And in my head, I finished, or 1 finger, right? No. 5 fingers or something else. And I'm not going to lie to you, and I get the hypocrisy and I get the irony, but I literally went, ew, what? What does that mean? So yeah, they could be born with 2 fingers on each hand. Whoa, ew, I have to deal with 5 fingers on each hand. I don't know if I can deal with that. I know the hypocrisy of that. But those were the odds, right? And so with my kids, 80% is where I hit. Now, all of them had, now my last child, I remember going to the doctor and they said, yes, she's going to have 2 toes on each foot, 2 hands, 2 fingers on each hand. And again, I went, okay, I'm going to love her anyway. She doesn't. She has 1 toe, one finger. But you know what? I would have loved her anyway. It is what it is. That's a big statement of my family. It is what it is. You're going to hear a little more, but to our kids, we're constantly saying, there's 2 things, two lessons in life. Number 1, it is what it is. And number 2, the power of yet, right? You cannot, that sounded very cliche and like, oh, look, the power of yet. We say yet. Dad, I can't tie my shoes. You can't do it yet. You just haven't figured it out yet, right? So again, I'm going to take you back to when Noah is going to be born. We had these tests and stuff like that. And then, of course, we got pregnant. And I remember the day he was born. And I remember Joe, he's going to be, we found out he was going to have 1 finger like me. And that was a little rough, and stuff, but, okay. And then the day he was born, first of all, he was born C-section and he came out, it scared me to death. He was gray and wrinkly and kind of all squiggled up like this. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's broken. Something's weird here. Turns out C-section specifically, a lot of babies come out that way. He kind of color came to him, things like that. I got him situated, got my wife situated and got him situated. And I was the first one to change his diapers. That's disgusting. And we got everything. And so I spent several hours. The family was there. They were helping out. So finally, when I got a chance to get away, I remember getting away and I just fell apart. Now, here's how I fell apart. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I have no problem being this way. I make jokes, as you can stuff like that, but how is he going to take it? Is he going to embrace it, or is he going to be mad at me? Dad, why am I this way? Why did you do this to me? Now, we all know the rational, well, you didn't do it to him, Eric. It just happened. But the reality is that these are the things as parents, you're so protective. And I remember, oh my gosh, that was tough. So we tried to raise Noah and I'll talk about the rest of the kids as well, but raising our kids, one of the things we did is the same thing I'm telling you, is we modeled to them how life should be. As parents, we model for our kids. This is the way we should live. These are the decisions we make. And one of the models in our family is we are not special. Yes, we are different, but we live in a regular world, and the regular world is not going to fold around us. We are not special. And so We kind of have this regular life. We tie our own shoes, we put on our own pants, we write with our own pencil, things like that. And I remember wondering, is he ever going to embrace this? Is he going to be okay? And it's fun to watch your kids figure this out, right? So forward about 5-6 years, he was 5 or 6. It was just him and his little brother in the car, and I'm driving. And I remember we're driving down the road, and one of the jokes I always say, excuse me, one of the jokes I always say, people, I told you earlier, if there's a story out there, I've said it. When people ask, what happened to your fingers? If I'm not in the mood to do the whole, to be an inspiration, because we hear that, like, you're such an inspiration. I love it when people tell me, they look at my handwriting, which is god awful. And this is one of the places they always do is, your handwriting is so good. No, it's not, but I'm an inspiration. So sometimes you don't want to be an inspiration. You just want to be normal. And people ask me, what happened to your fingers? And I've said this a lot of times. Oh, they're home in a box in the freezer. And here's the reason you can say that, because nobody argues with that. Nobody goes, nah, I don't believe you. Most of the time they go, oh, okay. Okay, you have a good day. And they walk away. There's no arguing with that. Your fingers. I mean, my fingers aren't at home in a freezer in a box that you know of, right? So back to Noah, driving in the car. I got Noah, I got Jake, who's my younger one. We're driving in the car, and he asked me the question. I'm driving, it's pretty late at night. I says, Dad, yeah, buddy. Where are my fingers? And man, it's muscle memory, folks. It happened before I could even shut it down. I said, at home in a box in the freezer. And it was like, oh, I just said that. And so I just kind of quietly sat there, and I'm watching him in the rearview mirror. And you could see the wheels turning. Could I have them back? Nope, your mom won't give them to you. I didn't say that. I was already in enough trouble because I knew when I was going to get home, she was going to be, you told him what? So I pulled over, we had the talk, right? In our family, we say this is the way you were made, right? You could take whatever approach on that you want, but that's what we say, buddy, this is the way you were made. And we talked through that, and we're okay with that. Now, I've told him all this, but that doesn't mean that he's ready to embrace it yet. He has to make the decision, right? I can model it. I can explain it, but he has to make the decision. So a couple of years later, we're in a McDonald's, and it's me and just the boys again. And he's out running around, and he's found a little friend in the playground to run around with. And they're running and doing slides. They're having a great time, which is great for me because I'm exhausted. I'm sitting and I'm watching things like that. And the next thing I know, his little friend that he's playing with is screaming and crying and bawling his head off. I was like, oh no. So I went and found Noah. I said, no, what happened? And the kid is unconsolable. He's with his dad. His dad's trying to calm him down, stuff like that. And Noah said, oh, well, we were playing. And then he asked me where my fingers are. You may have already gotten there. And I said, oh, what did you say? I said, they're at home in a box in the freezer with my dad's. So I couldn't help it. Folks, I'm sorry. I was like, all right. Good job, son. Okay, now dad needs to go talk to him. So I went over and talked to the dad, and I did not get that's the saddest thing I've ever seen. I got the what is wrong with you and your people. And that's all right. I consoled him. We walked, we left. But you see, Noah made a choice. Noah made a choice to say, this is what it is. It's not what it will be. It's not what I wish it was. It's not what I want it to be. It is what it is. And I'm going to embrace that and deal with it and have fun with it. And I challenge you with that. And especially when we're looking, when we're talking about development and things like that in our worlds, this can be a personal thing or a public thing, right? Managers can say, you have to do this. You have to love this. You have to do this, thing like that. But we make decisions. And a lot of times when we hit hurdles, we want to say, can't be done. Man, there are things in life that people said, there's no way you'll be able to do. I went to college on a drumming scholarship. I don't say that to brag. I just say that to say I went to college on a drumming scholarship. I was in high school. I played drum set, went to college playing jazz, things like that. When I was in my community college, I was the best drummer there. Now, I thought that was pretty cool. Turns out we just didn't have a lot of good drummers there. So I ended up actually transferring over to a school of music in Phoenix, Arizona called Grand Canyon University. And the worst drummer there ate my lunch. So what I figured out is I am a phenomenal drummer for one finger, but I'm fairly average and nobody's going to pay me to do it. But I remember in 5th grade saying, I want to be a drummer. And everybody said, you can't play drums. You'll never play drums. But not my parents. My mom was the model. Like I said, she was the model by which this is how we deal with it. She had one finger. She was a piano player. She could do everything. That's a sight to see. I'm not even going to lie to you, watching her play piano. My dad was the cheerleader. My dad had 5 fingers. Wasn't his fault. Just the way it was. He was the cheerleader. And he was the, you can do it. I'll help you. We'll figure it out. And he never gave up. And man, I'm going to tell you what, when you're dealing with challenges, we all need that kind of support around us. Yeah, sometimes we need people in life in reality to go, yeah, that might not be possible right away, or we need to figure it out. But we always try first. There are a couple things I cannot do. I can't hitchhike safely, right? If I'm hitchhiking, it's going to be this, and that's going to get me beat up, right? There's just no two ways about that. I can't play a flute, but really honestly, who wants to play a flute? I can't play a saxophone. Okay. I play a little guitar. I play bass. I play drums. I play keyboard. All average. Again, I'm really good for one finger. But I do it because I tried. I do it because I don't look at it without ever trying and saying, can't do that. I'm the model by which I want you to see me. And I want you to see me as someone who achieves and not says, it can't be done. My second son, Jake. Now I'm going to be straight up. Jake's weird. Jake now is 6'2". He's running about 200 pounds. It's all muscle. Flaming red hair. Wild hair. He's going to ASU right now. He's a cool kid. He's smarter than a whip. They brought us in. They said, look, here's the deal. This is, he was like 3rd grade. They said, here's your average student. Here's the top of our scale. Your son is up here somewhere. But in honesty, we traded for all that smart. We traded all common sense. He has a common sense of my shoe sometimes. Now he's getting better. And I'm not being mean to Jake. If Jake was standing right next to me, he'd be like, yeah, he's right. Yeah. He's off the chart smart. Common sense sometimes is lacking. But I remember with Jake thinking he's going to be all right. It happened a couple of years after the story with Noah. We were trick-or-treating in Colorado. And in Colorado, man, you never know what it's going to be like. It's going to be hot, it can be cold. You don't know. Suits over jackets, jackets over suits, or you could be, hanging out. So we've been out trick-or-treating, and we got to, this is the last house. We're exhausted. We got to the point where, the costumes are kind of coming off. We're in T-shirts, kind of a warm night. And the very last house is like a dream house, right? We walk up this, it's got this, you walk up the sidewalk along the side of the house, and there's this big plate glass window that you can see into the house. In the house, it's already decorated for Christmas. They're handing it candy, but it's fairy tale. I'm not kidding. It's a mom and dad, 2 twin little girls, cute as they can be. Music's playing, gold is falling from the sky, stardust is everywhere. I mean, it's that kind of house. I remember us walking up, and Jake's leading us, and he gets to the door, and I do not know what took over Jake, but he gets to the door, gets right in the door, and the little girls, he rings the doorbell, and the little girls are running, we'll get it up. There's music playing or something. So they get to the door, and right as they go to open the door, Jake gets right up close to the glass, and he goes, and he yells it so they can hear him. I got 2 fingers, just like that. Let me tell you, the dream was over. Everything fell apart. These girls, they're screaming and yelling, and they're going nuts. And the dad's like, "What's wrong with you?" And the mom. So I'm in the second window, and the mom comes running out, looking. She looks at me. That's so sad. What is wrong with your family? And the only thing I need to do was I looked at her and said, I also have 2 fingers. We'll be going. Thank you. So we left. But I remember thinking, Jake's going to be okay. Now, again, does he wake up every day and go, thanks, I'm glad I'm this way. This is perfect? Nah. There's been days he struggled. There's been days where we have a rough time. I remember the day, it's been a couple of years ago. We were in Texas for actually my father-in-law's funeral. And my wife is a shopper. Let me say that again. She's a frugal shopper. When deals come around, man, she takes care of it. She is on it. And one of the Payless stores near where we were staying, it was after the funeral and everything. One of the Payless stores were having a sale. So we decided to go. And it was literally like they'll almost pay you to take the shoes. You know, half price off, on the half price on the half price. $2 for a shoe. Here you go. So we had the girls. The boys weren't with us at the time. There's just the girls and some of her family. And we walk in, and the shoes have been pretty picked over. But my 4th daughter, Sophie, we were able to find her stuff because she has 5 fingers and 5 toes. We were able to find her things, and she was great. You know, we find 17 boxes ready to go. But for my youngest daughter, and something that's really hard for us is finding shoes. And we couldn't find her a single shoe. And I remember sitting down with her while the others were looking. She crawled up on my lap and she said, Daddy, I don't want to be this way. This is hard. I don't want to do this. And as a parent, you look at it and go, I don't know what to say to you. I can't change it. There's nothing we can do about this. We've had surgery suggested to us, but nothing works. It is what it is. It's the way we are. Now, she's sad. No, she's a happy little girl. She plays. Both my girls, they're best friends. They play. But there are days when you don't want to be an inspiration. You just want to be normal. And that's hard. But it is what it is. Life is what it is. And you be hopeful for the next, right? You get up each day and say, this is what I'm going to do. The third point I would make to you is no excuses. Like I've already said, you know, we're all different. How you deal with it is the model by which other people will deal with it. And finally, no excuses. And no excuses. And Josh, I'm gonna go a little long just so you know that only about 5 minutes, but with no excuses.
Okay. Keep going.
All righty. No excuses says I'm not gonna say I can't because. I've already alluded to this. So I won't spend a lot of time here, but I remember in our family when the kids come now, when they're young, we help them tie their shoes, you know, because they're young. But even with one finger, we make them do that. You tie your shoes, you know how. And if you don't, you need to figure it out. I'll help you. I'll show you the way I do it. But what we find out is most of us do it very differently from the others. We kind of have to figure it out on our own. You figure it out. You can do it. You haven't figured it out yet, but you can do it. There are no excuses. And man, you take that back to your personal lives or development lives. There's a lot of times when we look at something and go, that is insurmountable. I can't do it because. But have you tried? What have you done? Where's your data? At AWS, we say this all the time. Show me your data. That's a great opinion. We love that, but show me your data. Where's your data that says, I can't do this? What have you tried? And that's what my kids love that. Where's your data, children? Show me your data. I don't do that because my wife gives me dirty looks. But there's no excuses. You can do it or at least die trying. Man, we never assume something can't be done. I remember my son, this is son number 3, Owen. Owen was going to school, and one day he came home and said, Dad, I use my iPad for homework. I was like, oh, okay. Are you all using your iPad for homework? No, just me. I'm sorry, what? Just me. The teachers say I write too slow, so they let me do it on the iPad. Or I write too sloppy also. I'm sorry, so what? So I called the teacher. I said, no, we don't do that anymore. If the other kids are writing, he writes. Well, Mr. Johnson, he writes really slow in his handwriting. He'll get better. He can do it. So they actually had a meeting, and I'm going to cut this story short a little bit. But they actually had a meeting where they were like, 20 teachers in there, and then it was me on the other side of it. They said, Mr. Johnson, said, in this room, it's probably not 20 teachers, but so in this room, we have 45 years of combined education experience. We know what's right for your son. And he's not keeping up with the rest of the class, so we're going to help him. And I said, teachers, in this body, I have 47 years of having one finger. I'm the subject matter expert. And while you want to help him right now and say, we're just going to help you get through this, I'm looking at his full life. And when you get to work, they don't say to you, you know what, do 10% of the work. We'll pay you full. We got you covered. That's not the real world. So, and with him, we've been teaching him, you don't take those. We don't take those excuses. We do the work. Now, I know this because the same thing happened to me when I was very young. When I switched over to a new school, very first school I started in, or this is in 7th grade, very first friend I met, he was actually a little person, a dwarf. The term little person is better. He called himself a dwarf, so that's what I'd always said, but he was a little person. And we became instant friends. I don't know if it was that, hey, we're already different, kind of thing, but we became instant friends. And we're sitting in class, and I remember he always finished his homework before me. It's like, how do you do that? So he finally tells me, he goes, oh, here's the deal. He said, the teacher lets me only do half the assignment. And I was like, what? She said, yeah, she asked if it hurt my hands to write. And I said, yeah. So she said, I only have to do half the assignment. So, man, from that point on, every time she'd come by me and I'd be writing, I'd be like, ouch, oh, ow, ow, until she finally caught on. She said, Eric, does it hurt you to write? I said, it really does. She said, would you like to do just half the assignment? Yeah. Okay, so I did a semester of half the assignment. It was awesome until my mom found out. Now, remember, in my house, I was raised that you can do it and we don't make excuses. And man, when she found out, she came home, and this is a trick I learned as a parent. She asked me the question. She said, Eric, are you doing half the assignment? Now, as a parent, most of the time you know the answer. But I don't know how she found out. Well, I'll tell you what she said. She says, you know what? God sees everything, and he tells me. Okay. Yeah. I mean, how do I argue with that? And she said, are you doing half the assignment? I said, yes, ma'am, I am. I did learn as a kid not to lie to my mom. Yes, ma'am, I am. And let me tell you, people, my mom, she's like yay tall. She ripped me up one side, down the other, grabbed me by the ear, put me in the car. Then we drove to the school, and then she let the teacher have it. That poor teacher. Now, my mom's a sweet lady, but that poor teacher was in tears by the end of this. Then we drove to Mark's house, and my mom told Mark's mom. And then they tag teamed like a wrestling match. They took turns whooping up on us. And then we had to go back and do all the assignments. You see, in life, excuses don't work, right? We don't get to say, I'm only gonna because this. And you may be saying, Eric, you don't understand. Yeah, I probably do. And like I said, there are things that I can't do, but it surely isn't because I haven't tried to do them. I'm horrible at pull-ups. My grip is not the best, and my belly is bigger than it should be, but I still try. You try, no excuses. The very last point I would tell you is this. You got to have fun in life. Okay. I have fun with this. What I'm doing right now is a blast. I love telling these stories. In 1984, my brother, who is like me, except for he still has a full head of hair. Nobody likes him. He doesn't have glasses, whatever. 1984, my brother was his senior year of high school, and they went to SeaWorld. And in SeaWorld, they decided, this is the whole band. We would go to SeaWorld in San Diego. Excuse me. The whole band, they would drive over, and they had concerts and stuff, and then they spent all Saturday at SeaWorld. And as a counselor, if you've ever counseled 100 and something kids, it's like, okay, let them run at SeaWorld. We'll take a break. But about an hour in, my brother and some friends decided to do some fun, have some fun. So they went into the killer whale padding tank, and they bought the squids that you buy, and they got some ketchup. And they put the ketchup all over his hands and all over the squids. They threw the squid in the tank, and he came out screaming. Let me tell you what, that place came alive. It went nuts. He went out of the tank. He went into the bathroom, washed his hands off, and put them in there. And then people, oh my gosh! Kids were getting jerked away from the tank, and it was a crazy place. And they shut down part of SeaWorld until they found him. And then they escorted the band out and said, "Never come back." I'm gonna tell you what, folks. Now, I'm not encouraging you to shut down SeaWorld. But you got to have fun in life. You take the challenges we deal with and you hit them head on and you have fun with it. I can tell, I'm not going to, because the time wise we're hitting there, but I can tell you stories upon stories of just having fun. Not all as cruel as shutting down SeaWorld, but there it is. I can tell you stories upon stories where you look at life and you have fun. And I encourage you to do that. So once again, let me tell you, I don't want you to think you're alone. Everybody deals with things. Sometimes they're as obvious as this. A lot of times they're not. They're in here, they're here, whatever. How you deal with it is how others are going to deal with it. I don't mean pretend it's not there. I mean, there's a difference between accepting or denying. And when it is what it is, it makes sense to accept it and move on with it. Don't make excuses. I can't because. Certainly not if you haven't tried. Try everything. Learn the word yet. I just haven't learned to tie my shoes yet. I just haven't learned to play the saxophone yet. And then have fun. And that's my encouragement to you. And that applies to personal life, work life, everything. And with that, Josh, I'm going to turn it back over. If we have any questions coming in, jump back on with me. Let's chat and have some fun.
So amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, when I think about the fact that you're my friend and, you're my brother and I've known you for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I can't remember. I'm not good at math, as I told you, but every time
I can't
you
get
said
past
something,
two, buddy.
Well, see, it's not easy we were talking one time and I said something like, we look very similar. And you were like, well, one of us looks better. I can't remember your joke, but
we all know who
when someone
is.
has, when your wit is much quicker than mine, and you got a lot of people that are very entertained here. A few that got emotional, actually.
Good.
But they love your storytelling style, and
good.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going in my head all the different things I could say, and it's almost like therapy. I just want to tell you all the problems I deal with, but yet I wake up and keep going. And I get to do this, right? I get to wake up and have this job where I get to have a conversation with you.
That's right.
And it's just,
right.
I don't. Look, I've got a blue beard, right? I did it as a joke because of my coworkers, Lucia and Meredith were doing their hair and they're like, hey, you could do your beard. I'm like, never heard of that. And now I've done that and it's an attention getter, and the ego boost that I get from the attention is awesome. So I'm actually the opposite. I'm trying to find ways to make people pay attention to me, and you're trying to find ways for people to pay attention to you, but because of something you were born with. So
right.
One thing that strikes me that people may not know is that when we're talking, like second, third time we met, I just walk up and start shaking your hand. And in my head, I'm just shaking your hand, but I'm holding a finger. And I never thought, does he think it's weird this guy's wrapping his hand around my finger? So that literally went through my head the first time we full on shook.
So I have had folks, it's really funny, and I'm glad you brought that up. Folks I've had people shake my finger. Hey, how are you? Pleased to meet you. I've had folks slide all the way up to the elbow. Oh, hey, what's up? Or, long before pandemic. Oh, hey, what's up? But you can always see, because I tend to, and it's not I hide my hands. I tend to do my pockets a lot. So when I reach out to shake, you can see people going, oh, okay. And I get it. I'm not, it's a startling thing. So I'm not going to pick on anybody. Now, I did have one time a salesman in a car lot, and I was there to buy a car. And I walked out, I reached out to shake, and he said, oh, and then just expletives coming out. And I finally said, okay, you're going to need to find somewhere else, because I can't take you serious now. So, but it's funny how I am, again, it always interests me on what people will do, but it doesn't bother me. Shake my finger, shake my hand. We can, slap each other's foreheads, whatever. So we'll bonk
nice. Well, I had a question that came up in my mind. I don't know if anybody else has the same thing, which is you're now talking about AWS and you're a developer advocate and you're coding. I know a lot of the things you do with serverless, but did you have trouble getting coding jobs, or was anybody in a manager position over you looking at you saying you can't fit into our team, or was that your talent spoke for itself in the code?
I haven't. I've had some interesting, the first coding. So full disclosure, my background, I have that sneeze. There it is. I found it. Woo. My background is I was a pastor for 12 years. And so I came into coding very late in life, right? And I was probably, oh man, I was mid 30s. And I started. Now I'd always done it on the side. I'd done some HTML, which is now hacking, as you know, and I had done some. JavaScript, things like that. But it was the first job I ever applied for. They hadn't seen me. I was doing it remotely and stuff like that, and I had sent in, some code examples, stuff like that. And my email address, my domain is singledigit.net. Okay. And so it's really funny when I walked in there, one of the guys, he's a good buddy today. He goes, before he even said hi, he goes, oh, I get it. I finally get single digit. And so that kind of broke the ice. But I think the thing again, I think I work hard to quickly put people at ease with it. And I know probably the people I work with was like, okay, that's enough one finger jokes. We know them all, but it's that let's again address that elephant in the room. And then they look at my skill set and not how fast I can type or anything like that. And then I always tell them, hey, I meet your ADA quota, right? so you can't get. I told so I work for Chris Munns, if any of you know who Chris Munns is, and I tell Chris, he not anymore, but I said, Chris, you can't fire me. I'm your ADA quote. So he that's
for those who don't know around the world, ADA is Americans with Disabilities.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah,
no worries. A real tiny story for me is I was once asked by a guy he was in like Washington D.C. He drove down to meet me for an interview when I lived in Atlanta. And I drove as well, and I drink a lot of coffee to stay awake for the interview. And we meet at a restaurant halfway between, and we're sitting there talking. And about 40 minutes goes by, and I have to get up and use the restroom. I had too much coffee. Yeah. And so I go and I come back, and then about 25 minutes later, I'm like, "Excuse me one more time." And I had a lot of fluid, right? So I get done, and he says to me, "Wow, you should have to go to the bathroom a lot. Got a weak bladder." I said, "No, it's just efficient." And he didn't seem to appreciate. I didn't get the job, but anyway, it's one of these things where you never know how people are going to react when you say something out loud, but you got to be yourself. And I was like, you know what, this guy's calling me out. I'm going to be myself. So everybody's really appreciating. They're loving the speech, the stories. They want to hear more of your stuff. I know you've got a website if you want to plug that. And also you're going to be at reInvent either in person or remotely doing some serverless stuff, right?
I am, yeah. So I actually don't have a website right now. I think it's up, but it's way outdated, stuff like that, because most of my speaking is with AWS, stuff like that. But you can find, I do have if you search for Eric Johnson on YouTube, I do have a YouTube site I kind of keep up where, and like I said, I've done this talk in a lot of different places, but it's never the same. There's a lot of different stories in other ones. I left out a lot of my main ones that I give today because I realized I was talking quite a bit, but but for as far as reInvent, I'm speaking at several sessions. If you're going to reInvent, if you're not going physically, you can attend virtually, and that's where I talk. I still do, even when I talk serverless, I still joke and have fun. It's just how I like to talk, and so I encourage you to join us. It's in December. It's right it's the 30th to the 2nd are the right dates, and you can attend virtually. And don't mark me on this, but I'm pretty sure the virtual is free. So.
No worries. We won't hold you to it. If not, we'll just have them send the checks to you, or the invoices.
Josh will cover it. Yeah.
No. I'll be busy with Tech Ed, which is mid-November, which is we're leading up to SAP's Tech Ed.
I misunderstood
on that. Yeah. No, I can't wait to see you in person. I will not be there in December, but once we're on the road next year, we'll definitely catch up.
Yeah, love it, and I'll be around. So thank you so much.
All right, my brother. Thanks for being here. I'm going to go ahead and end this stream, and I hope everybody had a good time and enjoy your weekend.
See you later.
All right. The stream has